Greetings, Star Trek Fleet Commanders. I am the Angry Rhino, asking you in the beginning of the video to please like and subscribe. It is something that I got feedback on, and thinking about it, I have done it myself. I have absolutely watched a Rev Deuce or an Ultimate DJ or Tiberius or Pegasus and watched their whole video and completely forgot to like and subscribe. Even at the end, it's like, oh, but then the autoplay comes up and screws up the whole thing. So it is a thing that we on the YouTube and content creators in general should be doing early in the video. What I'm going to do today is, with the supposed or attempt to revitalize territory capture, I'm going to talk about some potential crews you can use. Now, these are not your primary crews. They're probably not even your secondary crews. Are they your tertiary crews? I don't know. Maybe not even that. With strike teams and Freeman and some of the old Warhorse PvP crews before all those strike teams, some of the crews I'm talking about here are way down the line. But how many ships are you throwing out in these territory battles? I have 8 docks. Do you have 8 docks? Maybe, maybe not. But that is 8 ships to crew up. Yes, you don't have to crew them, but if you do crew all 8 of those ships, there is potential for you to maybe not die and therefore stay in the system and gain points. And maybe for some of you lower level players that, you only have 3 docks, maybe you got your 2 bigger ships with your 2 best PvP crews. Well, what do you do with that third one? You don't necessarily want to just throw it away. There are some other crews that you can do something with, depending on who's attacking you or who you are attacking. The first group that I will talk about is going to be the TOS crew, the original series. Hit the group. Obviously, Kirk is the captain. I have talked about his captain ability before. It will increase energy weapon damage by officer defense if you get morale. Some of the other people on his crew or in his group, let's say Spock, when you get morale, decreases the critical hit damage of your opponent, can be useful. Spock's captain mover, when defending at the start of each turn, TOS Spock restores shield health to the amount of 100% of the defense of all the officers on a ship. Restores the shield health of all your ships if the ship is defending the station. Is it a great PvP officer? Not really, but if you're crewing up a bunch of other ships, you have a limited number of officers, maybe, could you steal a victory with Spock? Potentially. Or, what are these guys? I want to say Chekhov, maybe. Officer ability of Chekhov, his captain ability really isn't necessary. When attacked while on a capture node or a mining node by a player, TOS Chekhov decreases the opponent's damage by 100%. Now again, you have to be on a node, capture node or mining node, specifically made for territory battle. You can get this activation. Can help you. Scotty is irrelevant. McCoy does something. McCoy, his captain maneuver, when defending, it's just when defending, McCoy increases the shield deflection armor dodge of the ships by health of your officers. So essentially 5 of 11. Could potentially be useful. And this is just increasing the officer stats. Sulu is somewhat relevant. He can do morale from his captain ability. 50%, 55% at base. You get synergy with, that gets increased with synergy. And when you have morale, you can increase your critical hit chance. It can be useful. And I left these board crew below deck just to remind you, there's a lot of below deck people now. Don't forget to use them. They can help you. Alright, no, that's not what I want. Let's talk about these two guys here. I have mentioned Dejoki. His officer ability does work. It does not work in Armadas, but Dejoki's officer ability does work hostile grinding and PvP. When your opponent is burning, increase mitigation 500% of your officer health. Those are pretty big numbers, especially if maybe you're a lower player. You may be able to have enough screw slots and stack some health, but having it be 500% instead of, like, say, 511, it's only 200%, can help. Vehement is another one that relies on burn. Be specific here. I don't have a burner on here just because other people are elsewhere. But you will need a burner to get these people activated. Yes, he does have as captain, he can have potential to resurrect your ship. Like, let's say you lose the battle, but the ship is still there. Could be useful in territory. Could be. Officer ability is essentially reverse Spock. With burning your opponent, he will take shield health off your opponent based on officer health. It does work. Can it help you win a battle in territory? It could. It absolutely could. Now, I don't have Lorca on with this group, but this is the Terran Empire group. Lorca, Killy, and Empress Georgiou. Take a look at Killy's captain ability. When attacking on a capture node at the start of each turn, as long as the opponent has hull breach, Captain Tilly increases the armor piercing, shield piercing, and accuracy of the ship by 50% of the total defense of all officers on the ship. This is more of a synergy thing. You have some of these other officers in her group honor that can get bigger. Sadistic, this is what people usually use her for. If your opponent has hull reach, increase your mitigation by 100% of officer attack every round. As you can see, it's cumulative. Now, talk about Empress Georgiou. I do remember when she came out, we all thought it would be good. It looked like she was working, and she was working, but she just didn't really turn the tide that much. Captain ability decreases the opponent's crew defense by a stacking 100% of base each round when attacking a player during a takeover. Again, specifically designed to be used during takeovers. Officer ability, this is probably the big one. And partially because of sourcing, you don't get the increase if there's no sourcing. But some people had her and she worked somewhat nicely for them. When attacking a player on a capture node at the start of each round, Emperor. Oh, it is Emperor. Why would it not be Empress? Okay. Georgiou increases the number of shots of each weapon by 0.34. And that is cumulative. And that is an officer ability that will increase when you tier up. We all like increasing the amount of shots. This could be useful to you. Alright, let's move on to my next ship. I did try and go and fill all these ships with potential useful officers to make it a little easier. Yuki is probably, she was one of the main captains for PvP way back in the day before strike teams. I kind of had this set up, at least the bridge set up already on there, so I just kind of let them on there to talk about them. Just fell out of favor with some of the new officers coming out. Khan is another one. We use them a lot for armadas, but people sometimes forget that he works in all battles. Can he benefit you in PvP? Sure, especially against a ship with multiple weapons firing every round. And here's Lorca. You all know him. Hull Breach is his officer ability, captain ability when fighting players at the start of each round. The opponent has Hull Breach. Lorca decreases the opponent's weapons damage by 100%. There is potential for that to be useful to you. And again, here are some lower deck guys. Boimler, he will increase your mitigation. And he just increases your mitigation. PvE, PvP, or armadas, he works. Rutherford increases your shields. Another crew that kind of gets a little overlooked. Mud's Company. His captain ability, 40% chance to raise your shield mitigation to 98%. Would get higher. The percent chance would get higher with synergy. Officer ability, chance to double your shots in the first round. It's not great because it's only the first round, but it could be useful. Eurydice, I honestly don't remember. Some of these I'm sure are only armadas. No, this should work in PvP. When the ship loses shield health from a weapon attack, Eurydice increases the damage of the weapons by 10%, and it's cumulative. Something that we use during armadas. When your shields are depleted, she has a percent chance to heal them by 5%. This Mud, I think the rest of the group is more armada based, but I think this guy, no, he is armada only. When the ship's shield health is depleted, Harry Mud increases the weapon damage of the ship by 350% for the rest of combat. While his captain ability is only armadas, his officer ability should work in PvP. Not that this is a great crew to use, but there is potential for that. No, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Kittimer's Revenge crew, the Honor Guard Worf crew. You know Honor Guard Worf. He does critical hit chance. What about his buddies Gowron, Martok, and Bael? Well, all their officer abilities are mitigation. Shield deflection for Gowron based on your crew health. Dodge based on crew defense for Martok, and armor based on attack for Bael. But their captain's ability, they increase with synergy. For Gowron, increases your energy weapon damage by 50%. Martok is kinetic. It's the same thing. But Bael is just increases your weapon damage. These are supposed to just work. You can use them on armadas if you want to. Not that they're that great. You can use them in PvE. You can use them in PvP. They do work. They can maybe help you. No, that is... Alright. Now let's talk about speed crews. Glory in the Kill is a Klingon crew. Krass is the epic there. It's a very, very old PvP setup. As you can see, Vixis, Rukar, Kumal, Vartok. They're okay-ish. With small increase to weapons damage and small increase to resistance. Really what it is here, I'm talking about your speed, your impulse speed. It's Claw's Captain maneuver. It will get better with synergy. If you put this on your ship, you can essentially run around the map, run around the system, and maybe not get killed. Hey, if they can't kill you, guess what? You're in the system scoring points. Right? Pan is the same way. Pan is in there with Khan. Don't really like Pan that much because his officer ability puts whole reach on yourself. Now, people like Navi and Rima will give you some kind of boost when you have a whole reach on yourself. So it's not terrible, but it does kind of give your opponent the advantage. But Captain's ability, impulse speed. You can be faster. Again, you can just run circles around your opponent in a territory battle. They can't kill you if they can't catch you. Alright, let's back out of there. Last ship with a bunch of people on it. Here we come to the Discovery crew. Yes, I know Stamets' captain is really just for mycelium. His captain ability, but what is his officer ability? When defending against a player, Stamets decreases the opponent's shield. I'm sorry. Wow, I'm trying to talk too fast here. Stamets will decrease your opponent's armor piercing. Now, it isn't a lot, and it is off of base. But it does work. Right? Saru, officer ability. I suggest using Saru in station defense. Can he help you in PvP? Sure. Saru will decrease the opponent's weapon damage. Saru's captain ability. When fighting players, every time your ship is hit by a critical hit, Saru decreases the critical hit chance of your opponent by 10%. The 10% goes up with synergy. Can be useful. Let's go with Ash Tyler. When defending a capture node, Ash Tyler gives all officers on a ship a bonus of 60% to their attack stat. Can be useful. It will go higher with synergy. His officer ability plays nicely with his officer ability. When you burn your opponent, Ash Tyler increases the damage of the ship by 100% of your officer attack. Now, is it going to work for my Corvus? No. Does it work for my Stella against Stellar Armadas? It works very well. Very, very well. If I haven't told you, you should be using Ash Tyler to kill Eclipse Armadas. Now, can you use this against your opponent? Yes. I've used it on my Rialto. Well, he works nicely. But again, you do need a burner, which is why Giorgio's here. Michael Burnham. Hey, look, more speed. Now, this is not percentage-based. Claw and Pan were percentage-based. Burnham is just 15 impulses. We'll go out with synergy. Her officer ability, when fighting players, for each weapon that hits the opponent, Burnham removes 300% of your officer attack from your opponent's shields. Again, maybe not good on a Corvus or another G5 ship. But on a ship with, say, low shield health, like maybe a Rialta, this is very good. Tilly, remove shield health at the start of the battle. Officer ability, every time the ship is hit by an opponent's attack, Tilly has a 50% chance to decrease the opponent's officer attack by 15%. What? Yeah, something about weapons attack or something. It's very minimal use, but it can be useful. I think Arium is who I really wanted to talk about. Yes, Arium's captain maneuver is isogen mining, but check her officer ability out. When defending a capture node at the start of each round, Arium has a 90% chance of burning your opponent. I haven't tiered her up. What is she at max? 95% at max. It's not terrible. Could, assuming you can get your ship to a capture node, you could use Giorgio somewhere else. Alright, now let's talk about these assholes below here. Let's talk, I want to talk about Decius first. Again, somewhat of an old officer, and because of new officers and new research, has kind of fallen out of favor. Captain ability: when fighting a ship with a bigger strength, Decius increases accuracy, armor piercing, and shield piercing of your ship by 10%. Will get bigger with synergy. Not that much, but every little bit can help. Officer ability: every time the ship gets hit by a weapon attack, Decius increases its damage by 10%. Could be useful. Why did I want to bring him up? Another, I'll call them set group of officers who are in actually all different groups, but take a look. Well, actually, this guy is in the same group. Not really paying attention to the captain's ability here, but something that some people may have forgotten about are these damage increase to faction ships. Lunar increases the damage against Klingon ships by 500% of your crew attack. Can be useful. Also in the Romulan Patriot group, Merrick increases damage against Federation ships by 500%. Now this isn't max. Back in the day, Merrick was one of my go-tos. I had an auger, and Enterprises were very hard to take down, especially with morale and all that shield regeneration. Well, TOS Kirk, Marcus, and Merrick kicked the shit out of them. Can be very useful. Now, yes, if you have Merrick on your ship and you run into a Klingon ship, then it's useless, but can help you with some of these faction ships. Alright, no, that is not what I wanted. Alright, let's do that button. Get away from that. Let's go to the Blood and Honor group. Kang's group. He has 2 officers. Now, if you notice, I was in that Romulan group. They had a Federation attacker and a Klingon attacker. Obviously, they didn't have a Romulan one. Yeah, however you say that name. 500% to Romulan ships. So there you go. Yuki actually does the same thing, but alright, well, Krell is also in this Blood and Honor group, 500% to Federation ships. Now, the Section 31 group, which is kind of, if you can think about this as, who was Decius in there with? Decius, the Epic, was, what the hell is that bitch's name? Sharvnik. Sharvnik is one of the Trinity officers. Kang is another of the Trinity officer. And so is Marcus. Let's put him here. Yuki. I didn't talk about it when I was showing you because I wanted to talk about this strategy at the end. And she does 500% to Romulan ships. Now, what you will not see in this group is Klingon attacker. Why? Don't know. They did correct that when Tomalak came out. So Tomalak, and because sourcing is shit for him, but he is your other option for attacking Klingons. And don't forget, that's one thing. That's what I had. I lied when I said that was the last ship. This is the last ship. You don't want to forget your max morale. Bones, Kirk, Spock, max morale will get you lots of shield regeneration. And don't forget about Harrison. Ignore 70% of the shields. Alright, so we'll wrap this up. It's about all the officers I could think of. Slightly bit longer than I would have liked, but it's just how it goes. These officers I was just talking about they're not going to be they're not going to be your go-to. They're not your second go-to. They're probably not even your third go-to. It really does depend on you, how many officers you have, how many you have available, how many ships you have to crew up or want to crew up for territory battles. There's not 8 strike teams. There's only 3 strike teams and 1 Freeman crew, so that's only 4. What do you do with the other ships? Yes, you can not crew them at all. Or you can potentially crew them up and maybe steal a victory or run around this system. That is a tactic. It is a very good tactic. So comment below. I went through some of my tertiary or fourth-dairy crew sets. Did I miss any potential other guy crews that you could get some use out of in a territory battle? Maybe, depending on what your opponent is running. And now that we're almost 2 weeks into this attempted revitalization to territory battles, how are you liking it? Do you feel revitalized in your territories, or are you slightly annoyed? Be sure to like and subscribe. I'm the Angry Rhino. Shields up, Commanders.